All right, so we have why nuclear power. Nuclear power is one of the most influential sources of energy throughout America, and the amount of power versus the minimum amount of materials is key to the great power source of nuclear power. So our first 3 points that we want to bring up about nuclear power is how effective it is. And our 3 points are non-renewable but efficient. And our source is non-renewable, as we say, but it's one of the most efficient sources according to this graph. According to, it is 92.2% efficient, and most all other energies aren't quite as efficient as nuclear power can be. It's safe but dangerous. I know that's very oxymoronic, but it is one of the safest processes, and it's very well protected. The domes that are built for nuclear power can withstand even plane crashes so that radiation won't leak out. And that's the dangerous effect of it, is that if it does leak, radiation can leak into the air and people can die from a major disaster. It is very hard to make, but it's also very effective, being that it is very efficient, like we had said before. It operates 24/7 for almost 18 to 24 months, only to refuel, so it's very, I don't even know what to say. It's very efficient and it's very useful. Like you won't almost never run out of it. You don't have power outages like normal electricity. It supplies nearly 20% of America's energy sources, and it's one of the most popular in 7 states. It's a very secure source that we can always depend on, and it's one of the most efficient. So here we have a diagram of how nuclear power is made, and it starts mainly in cooling water, which is one of the main sources, but it can also be generated by other sources, like helium, I think is one of them. It flows into a pump, and the water is pumped into a nuclear reactor where there are control rods of uranium. And that reactor then gives off steam, which goes into a turbine, and that power is through a generator into our power line. So it's one of the safest and most efficient. Why is nuclear power the most affordable? Well, the reason is energy diversity, which helps balance the benefits, the risks, and costs associated with producing electricity. Nuclear power is most affordable mainly because there are other energy sources. If we were only depending upon one energy source, it would be a high demand and it would become very expensive. So the reason we have so many different sources is to lower the cost and make it a whole lot more affordable. And nuclear power is one of the most affordable sources of energy. One of the major risks, or why not nuclear, is because the major risks of radiation and disaster. As I had said before, that if radiation does leak into the air, it could kill people. And major disasters have happened in the past, like the most recent one in Japan. So that is the main risks, but there are a few risks for nuclear power, but it does have the most efficient and it's one of the safest if all goes well. So we had wind energy. So wind energy, there's obvious benefits to it, and one of it is because it's inexhaustible, and it's basically free because the wind's always blowing. The only drawbacks of wind power would be it kills birds and just the visual appeal, I guess.
So how the energy is converted is the wind, it blows in through the rotor blade, that turns into the gearbox, which the energy comes down to the power cables, and it's into the transformer, it's transformed into useful energy, and then that's sent out to the power lines for everyone to use. So this is basically, I guess, a blueprint or a diagram of all the infrastructure needed to convert it to useful energy. So you've got your wind, the turbine, you've got the transformer, the grid distribution which sends it out to all the places around. The transformer, I believe, sends it to like individual houses, And then the consumer substation is what provides it throughout the house, I believe. And basically all the rest of this, or no. I think this goes to an individual district, which takes it to this one, which sends it out to individual houses and separate powers in the house or whatever we're doing.
So then I was looking at the future of wind power and how they're making it more efficient and more, have less drawbacks. And one thing was they have floating wind turbines in the oceans, and it picks up the ocean breeze, so it's very efficient and it's cheap. And as you can see, they're mounted by 3 wires, and that's all they need to stay put. And some of them were like this, horizontal turbines, and some were also vertical turbines that turn sideways. And the vertical turbines are being processed because they're safer for birds, because birds are less likely to run into those if they land on top of it.
I'm ready, Max.
So one of the more popular renewable energy sources is solar energy, and it's actually kind of uncommon because it's inexhaustible, like most of these do. But how it works is that solar cells are converting the light energy into like DC current, which can get converted into AC current for like houses and stuff.
So like he said, the energy from the sun goes into your solar panels that are probably on your roof, and that makes it into DC current, which is stored into batteries. Sadly enough, most of your house appliances use AC current, which is what comes out of the wall outlets here, so we can't use that. So we have an inverter that changes it from DC to AC, and then that goes into a circuit breaker that distributes it throughout your house for whatever you need. And the things you don't need, it goes right back into the grid, and you actually start applying some of the electricity back to NIPSCO and other power companies like that, and they'll actually compensate you for that, and you'll get a little bit of money on the side. The biggest problem with solar energy, and the reason we don't really use it a lot, is because it's not the most efficient thing in the world. That is why they made the Sunshot Initiative, which was set to improve the efficiency of solar energy and how we get power from. So the big thing, they set out to make a project for 2020, which is 3 years from now, and they set it to make so you can make 6 cents per kilowatt hour, which is pretty efficient in itself, and they met it this year in 2017. So they already passed their goal, and inspired by that goal, they actually are making a new goal for 2030 to drop it all the way down to half the price of 3 cents per kilowatt hour, making it a lot more efficient and affordable for everyone to use, and not just big companies.
So some of the downsides about solar energy would be how much space they take up, or how expensive they are, or efficiency. But with the Tesla project, with the solar shingles that he's putting out and selling now, it's clean, safe, small, efficient. They're pretty sturdy, and it doesn't take up any extra space because they're just on the roof. So it can sort of a lot of the downsides to solar energy.
We had geothermal energy. So geothermal energy is basically it's heat from the earth. It's heat from the earth. It's clean, it's sustainable. Resources of geothermal energy range from the shallow ground to hot water and hot rocks. A few miles beneath the Earth's surface, down even deeper to extreme high temperatures, molten alcohol magma. ISUN is the biggest facility. ISUN is pioneering the use of geothermal energy for space heating. Generating electricity with geothermal energy has increased significantly in the recent years. Geothermal power facilities currently generate 25% of the country's total electricity production. Papua New Guinea. It's the smallest facility in the world. The geothermal facility in Papua New Guinea is located off the 28 square kilometer island of Leary Island. The first use of geothermal energy for power generation was when Weir Gold LTD bought a 6 megawatt back pressure unit to support their gold mine. Some advantages: it's environmentally friendly. It's a renewable resource. There's no fuel required. There's an abundant supply of power, and it's great for heat. Some disadvantages: its potential emissions, surface instability, location specific, high cost on pump and electricity, and heating and cooling systems. It may run out of steam